Welcome to my MyWebUniversity free educational videos. On this short video, I'm going to demonstrate how to restart Solaris, a virtual machine, and that I have already deployed, and I'm going to just show you how to do that one, and also some of the setting of Oracle virtual machine. To begin with, I'm going to click on the Oracle virtual machine or VirtualBox icon here. When you click on that one, and basically Oracle VirtualBox opens up. This is a software that allows you to have multiple operating system or multiple VMs as guests running on a host operating system. In this case, my host operating system is Windows 10. So if I just open up a command prompt here and then show you that I'm typing CMD, and then the command prompt comes up. Here I open the command prompt and then adjusting the screen here. So the font size is okay, so you can see everything. What I'm going to show you right here, it says Microsoft Windows 10 version, but I can get that detail also from system info argument, and then do a find/i and then OS name. That would just show that operating system is Windows 10. And then in order for me to know whether it's 32-bit operating system or 64-bit, I just change this OS name to the model. So the word model is showing you the architecture of the CPU. And you can see system model is AMD 64-bit right here. That means that I'm running 64-bit operating system with AMD processor, which is about 3.1 gigahertz, approximately 3.1 gigahertz. I also need to know the memory. So if I just don't select the /i, because ignore the case, I could type in memory and M in uppercase, and that would match all the information that is related to my computer's memory. So in this case, about 11 gig of physical memory, and then I have with all the storage and memory that are actually with all the RAM that I have allocated for the physical machines to do it, I just still have about 5 gig available. So that would be for all the application and processors that needs to be running. So how do I just look at the details of the virtual machine? As you can see here, I have a number of virtual machine. I'm using this My Solaris VM. You can see that this My Solaris VM about 4 gigabyte of physical memory that is going to be allocated for it. And then when it runs, it's going to be logical memory that is come and go because it's allocated for the guest operating system. In this case, My Solaris, which is version 11.4, Sun OS Solaris. And then the My Solaris is also called Solaris Express or Open Solaris on the x86 version. Open Solaris, Solaris VMs are all the same. Open Solaris x86 version, VM, Sun Solaris. Sun Microsystem originally wrote it, and then now Oracle owns it because Oracle bought Sun and they merged together. And now we have also the VirtualBox software. The VirtualBox software is owned, originally was virtualbox.org, then Sun Microsystem bought it, and then Sun was acquired by Oracle. Now Oracle owns the VirtualBox. So if I go to the setting here, you can see that this is the name of the host is My Solaris, and then operating system version is 11, is a 64-bit, and then the memory size is for about 4 gig, and then I have allocated that one. The display is 16 meg. I'm going to just change this display to max size because I don't want this to be smaller. So you can see that you can resize your some of your setting before you start your operating system. In case if I want to just increase the memory, I could do the same thing here. And then the storage, and then the processor also, that details are all in here. You can also go on the setting here. You click on the setting, you get similar information on the setting, and you can basically click on system, and you will see that it's about 4 gig. And then if you look at the processor, I have one processor allocated out of the 4 processor. I don't need too many of them, just testing. So display is also, I have increased it from 16 meg to 256 megabyte. Excuse me for that. So and that storage and is also there. And then the network is NAT, network address translation, because the virtual machine, I'm just using the host operating system network. So we're going to use the network address translation to translate it. There's option also for the bridge and other ones, but at this time the NAT is good enough for me, and it is going to connect to the network. The serial port, USB bus, if you want to just add those other shared folders, you have that option also. So once you're on here, you can see like for each of these, like if I look at this other Solaris, this one I allocated like 2 gig. So I could just resize them here. And then there's like Ubuntu, for example, I have allocated 4 gig. So the VMs that you request is basically, because they're coming as a guest operating system, they're coming and going, and so they're not going to be a physical machine. So as you run it, they run it on RAM, they load the whole virtual machine and disk image, and VDK or VDI, that one, the virtual disk image VDI file, that it gets loaded from your context of the storage where you allocate it on your user home directory or somewhere else, and then you just created it. So now let's just come back to the Solaris VM, and we want to get a little bit more. We looked at the setting. This other button on the VirtualBox Manager software has a network new option for setting up another virtual machine. So if I go under the tools here, then under the tools, you can see also their settings. So on the setting, this one is important because you can have a setting for the entire VirtualBox. Like for example, I went on the display from 128 scale factor to 200, so I could have it a little bit readable on the computer on the display. So when it is posted on a website like YouTube, then the video is kind of displayed better. And the other option under the update, you can see every time that you do update, the latest and greatest software that is a stable version, you can see that the stable release version, that will be checked by the update. And if and on the Oracle website found out a new update, it will go ahead just update the latest version. Yesterday, I just already updated this one on another video. So the version is already up to 6.1.134. And so I'm going to show you that details here. Let me click here. And then on the My Solaris here, when you go there, if you click on the Oracle website, that Oracle website shows up, and you can see that the download Oracle VirtualBox, this one is available. So if you click on the download Oracle VirtualBox, this page, and then this page actually, it tells you that Windows installer is there, Mac OS X is there, Solaris 10, Ubuntu. There's a number of other Fedora, Oracle, Linux, all of those ones, they have the download for the latest. And as you can see, the latest package is 6.134. Here it also shows 6.134, and the latest release is 6.134. So a number of places is marked here. And then if I just close this screen, let me minimize this screen for now, and then I could just come back here under the help. If you go to the About VirtualBox, you can see that 6.1 is there, but my version is 6.134, the latest and greatest that was showing on the Oracle website. So 6.134 is the version, the subversion of 6.1 that is a stable release. So I'm going to close this one also. Under the help, you also have the contents. The contents, you have all the documentation that you can think of with Oracle VirtualBox. I'm just going to demonstrate the first two of them, that how useful it is. For example, why is virtualization useful? It tells you exactly running multiple operating systems simultaneously or concurrently, easier software installation, and then testing and disaster recovery. So you can clone a VM and then just remove the other VM and then retest it to make sure that in case of disaster happens on your existing virtual machine, how can you recover from that one? So disaster recovery is much easy by making a clone or a snapshot of the actual VM. And infrastructure consolidation. This is saving you hardware, electricity, power, everything that you run on data center on a physical machines. Now you have one physical machine and then multiple operating system, like on the left side here, you can see all the virtual machine that I have. And so this is really useful in terms of that. And if I say, look at some of the terminologies that VirtualBox or VMware software that does, basically any operating system. VMware is similar to VirtualBox. It was originally built by VMware, and then some companies that were, I think was Dell. Dell bought it, and then now Dell owns it. So VMware is on the Windows platform mostly, and then it supports virtualization. You can also install VMware on other platform, but VirtualBox is open source and it was free, and it is still free. So everybody uses VirtualBox much more than VMware, because VMware costs you, and then it's not like for free. You have to pay for the support of VirtualBox as well, but if you don't need the support, you don't need to pay for it. Obviously, on production is a different story. You have to look at the Oracle requirements for running a VirtualBox on a production server without support or something. You don't just run it, and then when it comes to support, you call Oracle. That doesn't work that way. It's going to cost you. So some terminology, we're going to look at the host operating system. The host operating system is the machine that is running and the VirtualBox software. The VirtualBox software is like a hypervisor. It builds up more VMs, and you can spin off each VM on demand, and then work on it, make clone of it, make snapshot of it, run application inside each VM. Each VM could be like different. One would be Solaris operating system. What would be Ubuntu, Mac, Linux, Windows. You can run on multiple VMs on a given host. And then the host could be any operating system: Windows, Mac, Ubuntu, Linux, all kind of flavors. Solaris itself, you could have those ones there. The guest operating system, as I said, is the virtual machine. It is the virtual machine that gets a spin-off on a host operating system. They come and go. They are as they are loaded on memory, they run on the RAM, random access memory, and uses the processor and resource of the host operating system. And then when they are done, you shut it off or close it or turn it off. It comes out with that. And they're your virtual machine VM. And then virtual machine is actually similar to the guest operating system. The only difference is that a guest operating system could be in power off situation like these ones, and then they don't have to be in running state, but they have a configuration that when you spin it off to start it, it just comes with the operating system that you want, with all those memory and resources that you have allocated to it. The virtual machine example is an instance of that GAST operating system. It's a running state. And so it is either in a running state or it's maybe in a different state, but it could be loaded onto RAM also at the same time. And you could be having active users doing some activity there. And that's why it's called virtual machine. It's a machine that is physically doesn't exist, and it is on the RAM, random access memory. And then also you have GAST addition. This is addition software that could allow you to do multiple things. For example, send data between the two computers that you're having, between host and GAST, and have extra features. And then a lot of improvement with the performance and CD and this and that, USB drives, everything. If you want to share volumes, you can have all of that through GAST addition, and you can use the software that you mount and then install. And on Windows environment under the VMware, that's called VMware Tools. And then here it's called GAST addition. Whether you have Ubuntu as host operating system, or Linux, or a Mac, or Windows, you can have additional software there. So I'm going to close this window also, and we're going to start off on this VM. As you can see under the file, you have these options to create new cloud VMs, export appliance. All of that one, we can have it on another day. We can just work on that one. But at this time, I have this Solaris, which has 4 gig of physical memory, and then about 256 megabyte on the display. And then I'm going to just click in here to start. To start it off, and basically I'm going to just have my Solaris 11.4 is going to be just up and running, and then I can have a login to the account that I have previously set up, and then just start it. So let me just move this window here. You can see that the interface is really nice looking for VirtualBox, and it's currently using the welcome to grab. The grab is the boot menu for Solaris and Linux and all the Unix related like operating system, especially Linux environment. And so Sun Solaris also uses the grab and grab 2, or the latest version of grab. So you have an option here that if you just don't want to wait that many seconds, you can type in E for edit, and then just go through the menu. But I'm not going to do that one because I was talking, and I just don't need to do it. I'm going to choose the default one. And you can see that I have a Solaris backup snapshot also there. So the my Solaris, it says it's running Oracle VirtualBox. So at this time, it is going to go through starting all the services. It's going to start the services, and then once they start the services, the nice graphical user interface shows up. Then I can log into the server. You can see here it is saying Oracle Solaris. So I'm going to just leave this window as it is till it prompts me that it says that, okay, I started all the daemon processes that I supposed to. For example, one of the daemon processes is just account thing software that it just allows you to say that, okay, you're using Bash shell or C shell or Kernel shell or Z shell, any shell through C shell, then it will run your profiles. The dot profiles, we call it, like for example for Bash, it runs the home directory of your home directory .bash rc. Bash rc .bash rc is the Bash run control, and it sets up your environment, whatever environment variable, aliases, and other utilities that you want to set in order to just make sure your environment is set. It runs all of that one by default. then it comes out with a nice session. So at this time, it is not doing anything. I'm going to just click push a button to see if this is ready for me to type in. If sometimes at the time and that the display was still spinning, you could have just pressed enter, and then you would see that Oracle 11.4 is ready like that. You can see SunOS 5.11. So Sun equivalent to 11.4 version of Solaris, there's a 5.11. If you have a Solaris 10, and then you have a 5.10 SunOS. SunOS is the name when Sun Microsystem originally was building it. SunOS was starting with 5. So if you have Solaris 9, it would be SunOS 5.9. If you have, like in this case, it's Solaris 11.4.0. That detail of 11.4.0.15.0, that one is just the release of the build. So you can see it. There's also a file, etc release file, that it shows you what is the subversion or build of the Solaris. And you can see right now it is going through the kernel. Those warning, you can safely ignore it. The drivers, some of them, and if needed, and then you will see further issues there. Then you can check it out to say, okay, I found out this a signature verification of module in VirtualBox MS, and then VirtualBox GAS. And so those two failed. You can still look at it, but it's safe. I have already built it, and that doesn't cause any issues unless you just go to the AMD64 drivers, and then someday when you use it, you just need to load the appropriate drivers. So once you just do the mod info or mod ls, and then you could see if the module is not loaded, then you can do a pkg command to install the module. So Solaris used to have on the Spark architecture called package add, pkg add, pkg rm, pkg check, and then there's a lot of number of packages, pkg info, to just look at packages. In addition to those commands on Linux, I'm sorry, not Linux, x86 version of the VMs, they also have the pkg command. PKG is for package, so you could do a PKG search, and then for the name of the package, and then PKG install, and the name of the package, and so on. There's a number of arguments that you can do it. You can see right now it's going through host name, my Solaris, and sooner or later, maybe a few more seconds, or maybe 10, 15 second, 20 second, later it's going to show up the graphical interface, which is nice to have that. So I can log into the server. Yeah, right now it is my Solaris send mail. This is typical on the host name. If I just have a domain name, then I can put a fully qualified domain name. But because this is a home, so you don't need to worry about it. Where I work at, for example, JPL, Jet Propulsion Laboratory, NASA, I always fully qualified because the host name has to come in. Or if somebody works in Oracle or Sun or IBM, then they are normally fully qualified in the host file, and then that will not come up with the sendmail. Sendmail process on this one should be also disabled. There's a service management facility with Solaris called SVC ADM. Then you can say disable and then sendmail, and then that way it would this message would not show up. Okay, so it's almost ready to just have the GUI. It is right now trying to set up the display. Let's see why it is sitting on that small icon. Gonna minimize this window. Okay, so now it is better, and I could press enter and see if the look and feel of it is what I want to see. It is a little bit slow. The reason it is slow is because 4 gig might be just too small for this VM to be running. Nowadays, everything is memory hog. So they all want a lot of memory. And then, so right now it is trying to just come up with it, but it is a little bit slow in terms of a video that we are recording. So it should be any minute now that we see the nice screen of Oracle. Any 10, 15 seconds maybe. It has been slow to display it. Okay, so the nice screen shows up here. I can resize it here, or I could just leave it as it is here. Let's just resize it to make sure that we have the entire things as Oracle Solaris here. And so it looks really nice here with the interface. And then at this time I could press enter, and then it will go to my login page. So once it comes into the Oracle login page, you can see some of the options for on the right side, top right side here, that you can just power off. You can do the speaker. You can look at your accounts, and all these options are there, network setting and speakers, everything else, right? So these options are there. And then at the same time, it gives you like a kind of a banner that this is the Oracle Solaris version. So I'm going to log in as W. Lutfi to see if I have the account, and that a long time ago I set it up. I haven't used this VM for a while now, so I hope that this is still good. Let me try that password. It was good, so it allowed me to log in, and it says last time that you log in was this date. It gave you the last time that you were successfully logged on. And then this time is gonna just go further to the daemons, and then all the processes that should be coming up. So it could have a nice interface in front of me, and then look at the actual Oracle Solaris VM. Once that comes in, I will demo exactly on this video and the Solaris version, the release information. And then from there, we could just see how we shut it down back, because we could end the video, and then on another session, I could actually demonstrate the options that you have with running a VM, and what can you do with that VM. So right here, if I go back to the activity here, you can see that it's really nice interface with all the good graphical user interface showing. On the left side under the activities, there's almost like a menu with icons. So there's Firefox and Thunderbirds, and then all these other tools, especially the one, the terminal is my friend, that you use the terminal all the time to issue commands from your shell. And this is your terminal to the operating system. You make a request on the terminal, it comes out with a nice terminal here. It's either GDM, GNU Desktop Manager, or in this case it is, or sometimes KSH. And then there's a lot of other one, Xorg and everything else is with GNU, and the KDE, and then GDM, and all those other options are available to you. So if I just right here say, host name, you can see my Solaris, but that's the name of the host name. If I say uname -a, it will show that the Sun Solaris operating system, my Solaris 5.11, the actual Solaris Express or Solar Open Solaris is 11.4.0. And if I look at the etc release file, and then other operating system, you have OS-release or Red Hat-release or CentOS-release. And then here we have /etc release file. So on the /release file, it also shows you that you have Sun Solaris 11.4 x86 version. And then all right reserve with since 1983 till 2018. This was the latest one that was released on 2018. And then we can also look at uname -n for node name or uname -m for machine type, the architecture of the machine, uname -s for system name. You could get a lot of these uname details of it. So let's just go through the uname-a will give you everything. Uname -r for revision, you will see is 5.11, SunOS 5.11. So you could get that information. Uname -p would give you the platform, the i386, x86 platform. So that information is there. And then in addition, let me clear my screen. By typing clear, I could do this one. If I want to know the processor information, PSR info. PSR info, you will see that I have one processor. And if I want to know more detail about that processor, I type in PSR info -v. -v verbose, and it's going to show that I have a AMD processor with 2934 megahertz, which is about 3.1 gigahertz altogether. So if you look at this one, then you also need to know some more detail, like print PRT conf, and then do a grep -i for memory. For memory, you can see that's about 4 gig memory that I allocated on this one. And then if you want to know, for example, PRT conf, they give you a lot more details of all the modules, everything. And there, there's also disk information. So clear the screen here and make this screen a little bit wider and bigger. So I could have more information listed here. You can say clear screen and do a df-h. df-h will just show you all the zettabyte file system that is on this one. You can see this is a zettabyte file system there. And how do I know this one? Because on Solaris ZFS, the list will just tell you that this is actually a zettabyte file system on this server that is running currently, our pool and everything. So there's more details with the ZFS, the pool, the ZFS snapshot that I could just show you later. But at this time, we looked at the memory, we look at the processor, we look at the disk, and then you can also look at the current directory. For example, we say, who am I? Who are you? Like ID, and then say ID wlutfi. And then you can say get int password and then wlutfi. So on this one, I'm going to check if I have root privilege. First, before I do a root privilege, let's do a pkg search and then sshd. So if I just want to find out whether the SSHD package is available or running, or there's another latest version that I can download and do it, I can search with a pkg command and there. And then if I just want to know it, install it, and then you can do a pkg install. But you have to have root access there. So clear a screen, and if I just do a pkg command, by itself is going to say you need an argument. The argument is search, list, info, contents, update. There's a number of them, and then install is another option that is there. So you can just run that option, and you can see install is right here. And so, but with that one, I cannot do it with this environment here. I have to be root. So clear the screen. I'm going to do sudo su dash, and then when you do sudo su dash, if I had already set up my environment, I could do log in with my default account, and then that worked. So now I type in ID, I'm already root. So if I want to just make sure that I also change my old password on the root level, and then make sure that that password does not expire, then this is how you do it. And so here on Solaris, you just say grep -i root etc shadow file. So the shadow file, you see that there are some entries on the root that it says that the password could expire at the time stamp of that one. Translate that one to a date that it will expire if you don't renew it. So here I'm going to do a password reset. Say password root. If I do this one, it's going to say on other machines, you can do it just like this. But on Solaris, because either you're doing it on the local files or on LDAP or something, you have to give the dash option of -r files. So like here, it just already did this one. I could type in the new password, see if that one works. And I'm going to re-enter it. I did not type it correctly, so let me try it again. If you don't type the first time versus the second time, it will not work. So let me not talk and then type in both times the same. So now it shows that the password is set. And then if I just want to just exit out of this, at this time, I'm going to exit out. And now I say, now this time I say switch user -root. So this will prompt me to just say log in with root privilege, but also with, because of this dash, set my profile to run the profile of the root. So any aliases that are on root, any other configuration, it will read it from the etc profile for root, and then all those other startup script .bash or c of root, and set up my aliases the same way. So right here, I'm going to log in with that password that I just did, and notice that it worked here. So this syntax worked, but at this time, I'm going to go back here and I say, okay, I am root now, ID of root. You can see it shows up, get end password root. And notice that if I look at the root for etc password, etc shadow, and etc group, and they all have the root there, and then the root entry for the shadow file. So let me just do only for the shadow. So the root entry for the shadow is only saying that, okay, you did not just clear this default time or stamp of prompting you back if it will expire someday. So in order to just do that one, if I just do this one, grep root, I'm going to do password -x -1 root. Now it says password information change for root. So this is going to change that entry on the shadow file, It actually cleared it. It was already cleared. Maybe I did it previously. So this is why the password never expired on me. So it worked on the first time. And then another syntax that I used to do on the Spark, I could do the same thing, say password -r files and then root. And then type in password. I'm gonna do the same password because I don't want the password to be two different one every time I just set up my environment. And then it says that it's successfully done. So I could do that password -x root again and check on this one to make sure that it's all correct. I log out and I validate it again, sudo dash, and then if you don't put the root here, it's going to prompt for wlutfi. So right here, let's see, I type in the password and then it still get me because the password, when this one is assumed that it's a root when you don't type in root, but it is better to type in root. So I could just, while I'm here, I could switch user to wlutfi, sudo that, clear screen. Let me just do this quickly. So I type in ID here, and then now I want to switch to wlutfi. I could do this. Notice I'm there. But if I just exit out of that one, now I am back to root. Okay, so I'm going to exit out of this root. I'm going to just show you the xterm, a nice interface that Solaris also has. So if I type in xterm here, it opens up a xterminal for me. And you can see that it is a very nice xterm window, but I don't have to have the default colors. So with this xterm option, I could say xterm minus background, BG, and then give it a nice background. Let's say I'm going to do, the red is 0, 0, and then green, I'm going to put like 30. 30 and then 0, 0. For red, green, blue. The green is dark green in this case. Minus foreground, I'm going to just use white. So I could type in the pound FFF 3 times or 6 times, or I could just say white here. Both of them will be understood. So here I'm gonna say font face is going to be New York. If I just do a background with the ampersand, this is going to run in the background. But you can see that it is really nice, and uname -a and cut etc os-release. Yeah, you can see the os-release or /etc release. If you look at the release file, that is the actual file, but etc os-release is a symbolic link to that file. So if you look at clear the screen, ls-ld star release, the wildcard, then you can see that those two are their physical files there. And then I'm going to do a calendar command here, calendar -b for before this month. The default calendar is those two. So if I want to see 2 more calendar -b 2, it is not working on this one. So let me just do cal -a2. Yeah, so this version and cal -a2. Okay, so some of the tools that are there, I'm going to exit out of here. And then I say man calendar. For example, see the calendar option, Y -a for after, and then B for before is not supported here. You can see there's no options here, cal -, cal. By default, it just says, okay, you could get the calendar. For example, this month is 4, 2022, you could get this month, or you could just type in calendar minus J for Julian format. So some of the information in this version of calendar is not available similar to Linux. If you run all those commands with those arguments on Linux, it does work 100% accurate, and those options are there. The Julian format, that after, before. So if I look at the epoch calendar of 9070, you can see that it is showing there. In addition, every time you use the packages, you need to make sure your network configuration works. So you can say netstat minus rn, the routing table. You can see that I am by default virtual machine gave you an IP address of 10.0.2.15, and your gateway is usually as 10.0.2.2. That is showing up, and then if you have that interface as a NAT that comes with it, and then you can ping 10.0.2.2, your gateway, which shows here is up and running. So that way you now are on the network. Fconfig minus A shows you all the interfaces, and you can see that net zero, which is right here, net zero is already configured here. And then cut etc hosts, the host file, clear the screen, and then cut etc host file also shows you that you're on my Solaris, which is the loopback interface here. So if I say fconfig minus A, you can see the loopback interface here is 127.0.0.0.1, and then if you're using iNet version 6, you also have equivalent MAC address of 128 octet bit. And so let's just do the netstat we did. So clear the screen. We're going to do ping google.com. You can see ping MyWebUniversity.com. So you can see if that host is alive. You can also do a ping minus S MyWebUniversity.com. This minus S will do actually connect to it, and it will just go indefinite unless you stop it. So if you're just trying to make sure you boot a server, you want to say that when is it going to ping and when is timeout, then you could do a minus S option, and it will just go there. You can also do an NS lookup on MyWebUniversity.com, which is a name server lookup, and then it's going to show that this is basically the IP address is right here, and then the name resolution that is coming is from MyWebUniversity.com is that. So you can also do a trace route command, trace route, let's say google.com. And then you can see the number of hops that connects to the Google, and then we'll just see if there's any gateway or a DNS name server that is not responding at as quickly as it should be. Then it's going to just have like a timeout on that one. Then it's going to try another route. So that's why when you do routing table with netstat minus rn, you could see all the routing table that's available. So from my computer, in order to get to Google, it connects to the Frontier main page, main gateway, and from Frontier is going to jump into other gateways and resolve it eventually. And that's why I could ping google.com. So there's a number of hops that has been showing with asterisk 2 through 5 right now. It's just basically showing that I'm having a little bit of slowness in terms of the connection that we have, and eventually we'll resolve it. So and this time, while this one is running, I'm going to click on the activity here, and then you can see on the activity you have file manager, and that you can just open it, so you can see all the files and everything with icons and button so you can go to the directory structure. But since you're on the command prompt with the terminal, you can go to those directories. On these, all of these directories here are available for you. So you can click on the our Unix and then look at the files there, and then go back to the home and then look at the test one. If you just did something on any of these directory, you can touch files, create the directories and build system and then install things. So you could have those ones there. I'm going to just close this one from the GUI here. And then and this last one is the application interface. The application interface is just you can see that all the application that is available with Solaris. This is really nice because it gave you the about Oracle page and then the archive, then the Firefox and everything. So this is like a frequently used, the one that is showing on the application. Then you can also click on the all buttons and then get all applications. So for example, if I'm just looking at the calculator, to run the calculator, I could just use the calculator here. And then the calculator shows up here, and then I could just do it. So let me just close this calculator here. And then this thing is just taking a little bit too long. I'm not gonna wait for it. So I'm gonna clear my screen. I'm gonna just do xcalc here for calculator. If xcalc is not there, and then I could just say, okay, let me just run top here. And then on this one, see, I don't have calculator right here running. So top is showing all the processes here. Then I could just say, okay, go to this menu again, and then spin off calculator. And then let's see what is that program name here that is there. So once it comes out, the calculator, basic mode, and then it says calculator here, and then it says GNOME calculator. So this is the GNOME or a GNOME terminal. GNOME terminal is this terminal that I'm running, and GNOME calculator is coming and going. So if I just use this one and says 5 times 5, actually, sorry, 5 times 5, and then put equal sign, you could see it's giving you the correct values. But I'm going to just move this one on this side here. And then at this time, I'm going to quit out of this and then resize this one. Okay, so let's just assume that this is the terminal that is going to fit here. And then I'm gonna do here, say, show me everything ps minus efa grep minus I, the word calc. So this is enough to just show me GNOME calculator. And if I just don't want to see my own grep, I could type in grep minus v grep, and I only see the GNOME term. So this is the process ID for it, 1699. If I just want to know the PWDX of print working directory of executable, right now it is just hanging. It's not allowing me to type. And this is a bug in Solaris. Sometimes it does show up intermittently. It does not happen all the time, but there are times that while you're working on it, it just freezes for a little bit. And I read it that there was some fixes for it, but it still shows up on that version. I have to install some patches to it to make sure that this does not freeze again. So this time, if I just click on any of these buttons, you can see that nothing is available for me. It is just waiting on this. Now it is coming. So it took a while to just freeze. So if I say PWDX 1699, then you can see that it was spun off from export home directory. And if I say P3 of 1699. Process 3, this process does not have anything. I will go through the proc file system on another day, but right now I'm going to kill this process. So I'm going to say pkill and the process kill and then 1699. I could do a kill -9 on it and it will just take care of it. But notice that the pkill put it like a termination echo $0 successfully did, saying that echo $? Sorry. So when you do a pkill and then echo $? It says it did not succeed. So why did not succeed? I'm going to do pkill -9 minus p for the process in 1699. It is just saying that you don't need this. So I could do a pkill -9 and it's the signal -9, and that did not work. So let me clear the screen and do the traditional way, kill -9 and then 1699. There you go. I terminated. So now if I just want to start off GNOME, was it GNOME term emulator? So if I look for PS -ef and grep -I calculator and say I'm going to look for GNOME because GNOME terminal is there and GNOME so here you can type in also clear screen, which GNOME-calculator. So this is the binary location of it there. So instead of xcalc, you have to type in GNOME-calculator. Sorry, GNOME-calculator. So that would just bring up a calculator, and you can just say, okay, yeah, I like that one, but let me just kill it again. So I could do a kill exit out here without doing the kill command. It will just do that. Now we know the location of GNOME calculator. The nice thing about this one, you can say also the GNOME terminal. And so if I just say ls-ld user bin GNOME -* show me all the GNOME shells, terminals, everything. So there's a one, it's here, it says terminal. So I could type in user bin GNOME -terminal, and that would spin off another terminal like I have here similarly. And then here, if I just want to say, okay, I'm going to exit out of this one, I come back on this terminal. So notice under the user, user bin GNOME terminal, I type in pipe more, you can see there's the clock, for example. So user bin clock is another tools that you can spin off here. Say user bin, sorry, not user bin. Yeah, and instead of this, you can say clock. So which GNOME -clock. So let's see what was the name. Clocks with S. So if you do which GNOME or GNOME -clocks, I keep saying GNOME because it starts with G, but it's G is silent, and so GNOME -clocks. If you look at the GNOME -clocks, and then since it's there, I could just type in GNOME -clock with this, and then it will just open the clock for me. And nice clock. So you could look at the word clock here, or the alarm or the timer, everything there. So here you can click on the new to add the word clock, for example. Search for a setting. Let's say I want to see diamond bar. and diamond bar. So for the first time, if you have not set it, let's just go through these options of setting a clock with that city name. Why is it taking so long to just read this thing? So you have a stopwatch, you can start it in a timer, but why the city was not coming out? Let me just type in Los Angeles. Los Angeles. So Los Angeles, California, it picks up the entire things, and I'm going to choose that. So you can see here that as I type in the name, it did something on this definition saying that this is a bug in lightweight database. So it looks like it was not set the time zone. I have to set my time zone to Pacific, and then TP and everything else would work on that one. So at this time, I'm going to close this one and look at my time to make sure that my time zone is set. So the time is April 23rd, and it's about 1:51, 1:52. That's accurate. Pacific Standard Daytime, and that is good. NTP minus Q, NTPQ minus P. This would show the peers, but it's connection refused because on the ETC NTP, the conf file is not set, so I have to do that one. And then TP, let's see. Okay, so I need to set the time zones properly, which is not, there's no daemons running on here. SVC ADM list, it shows all my daemons. So if I just say SVC ADM list is actually there, but let me, while I'm there, I'm going to become root first. Sudo su dash, and some of these options require root privilege. So SVC ADM disable sendmail, for example. I want to disable sendmail, so that prompt that I was telling you earlier, it does not show. SVCS minus A, when you do it, it shows you all the services that are online, and then if there's anything with NTP, grep minus I NTP, you could see that right now NTP is disabled. So I could do say SVC S minus A NTP. That one is just showing that this service is disabled. In order for me to enable it, I do SVC ADM enable NTP. So now NTP is enabled. I just do the same thing. It just shows that the service is maintenance. It did not do it. So now I have to do SVC ADM clear NTP, see if that one just refresh it. And then go again with NTP. It's still in maintenance. NTPQ minus P, connection refused because of the configuration files. ETC ls minus L NTP. So under the var lib SVCS, I believe it is SVC. Yeah, var SVC. There's profiles and manifest files. I can configure that one, but this time I'm not interested in setting up the profile, I have to do SVCCFG and everything. There's a lot more than just doing that to configure it. I could come back with these other options, like for example, let's say NTP-Q minus P, it shows that connection refused because that etc ntp.conf file or the files that are looking for here under the manifest, let's say, then network. So right here, clear the screen. If I do a find dot minus name asterisk wildcard minus type f regular file minus exec, and then grep for minus il, and then search for ntp to see ntp.conf file is somewhere there, and then wherever it is used, it will show. So the logs of is just in the ntp.log that it is started. But if I go to the logs directory here and then look at the logs here, and then if I just say, okay, and the log is there, and then there's a file called network-ntp.log there. So SBCS minus A minus L NTP. NTP, when you do that, the minus L, it shows you the log of the definition. So all the configurations file is right here. This is where I would just put the server name saying that netstat minus RN. This is the gateway. So I could just put the gateway IP address to this NTP, and then it will just go there modified. And then also on the log file, what that output of the minus L, I could look at the log file to see this one, why the error is showing up. So if I just edit, copy this line here, and then look at the log, say cut this one, and then paste that here. So you can see here, execution is start fail, and this NTP file and .conf file is missing. And so in order to just create that file, I have to, when I was looking for NTP, there was no NTP.conf file here. In order to do that one, you have to either set up the environment to do a package update on NTP to make sure that it is not there. So let's just do that other file that was necessary here, important, was this log file. And then under the this file, this directory, which is /leb/svc/manifest/network, and this one, there's a ntp.xml file. So if I vi ntp.xml file, it tells me the details of how this XML file is doing the startup of it. And you can see the package that it is for NTP is sun ntpr. So that package, I want to make sure that package is up to date, because the inet ntp.conf file would be created if by default, and all those directive will be written on it. And then when you do the service stop start, it will not go in maintenance mode because that file is not missing anymore. And then here you can read further, most likely in the rest of the file, somewhere on this configuration file, it is referring to that startup script for NTP, and that one is not found. So let's just make this video not too technical, because I wanted to start VM, and I'm going to not continue on with this screen, but here on this file, if I just say grep for sun w and then on ntp.xml, this is the package name that NTP is going to make sure that you have all the configuration is needed. So at this time, if I just do pkg search Sun, and you have to write the name of the company, Sun W. That's the tag of Sun Microsystem stock, and then NTP lowercase, NTP, and then R. That's the package name. If I search for that one to see if that package is already there or not, I can do an install on it or package update on it. And then if that file gets updated, that's great. If not, I can work on that one later. But let's just do an install on Sun W and TPR. And since we have the network is going to go to the Sun website, which is OpenCSW. And then now it used to be Sun Freeware website, sunfreeware.com or sunfreeware.org, but now it's changed to OpenCSW. And then CS is maybe communities software. That's what it stands for, CSW. But those are all the additional packages that you would need on it. So right now it says refreshing catalog 1/1 Solaris 13.44 megabyte. It is going to try to just install that package, and let's see if that one is getting successful or not. If it takes too long, I will just finish the video on this one and then work on it another day, because sometimes these software installation, it takes a number of trial and effort and making more changes on the configuration file in order to find the proper packages. Because some of the latest package, let's say you're doing Python, the version that Sun Microsystem for x86 version that they have is 3.5 or 3.6. So if you're looking for a 3.8 or something, you can get the latest build that they did it on OpenCSW, but you're not going to just be able to just download the software and then build it on the actual source. If I already tried that one on a Spark at the time, that was not available, and it was just coming with other utilities and missing dependencies. So right here, you can see that it did not match any allowable, and it says that you can also refresh publisher using different match pattern. So the one that I did was Sun WNTPR, exactly the same name. So I have to go, like I was saying, that with the other packages, and then this one, I'm going to exit out of this terminal and go back here and click on the help just to see. So you have manual pages for it as well. You can do on Solaris man pages, and then there's nice interface for the help. You can get the latest information, everything related to that one. And I'm going to close that, and then under activity, you can also click on the show application. We already did this one, and then let's just click on the all to see what we have on the all, and you can see that this is a list of all packages. Okay, please don't forget to subscribe, and make sure that you go on YouTube, search for MyWebUniversity free educational videos, and subscribe so you can get the latest and greatest. I'm going to provide a lot of computer science related subjects such as programming with C++, programming with Python, programming with Unix shell scripting, PowerShell, Windows, Linux, Unix, Ubuntu, Solaris, and Apache web server, awk, NOC, all kind of programming languages, as well as all operating system related application, database, MySQL, and related stuff. So enjoy and have a very nice blessing weekend. Today is Saturday. I'm on California, city of Diamond Bar, in beautiful city of Diamond Bar. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and please don't forget to subscribe. Love and peace for all. Take care. Bye.